I think I'm going to choke. Hey, it's the Gouche Live. It is Gong Show time, and I got my best clown in Winnipeg. His name is Scotty Taylor, talking with Taylor. I don't even know I'm talking to you.
You got to sue somebody in Toronto. That's a mess. I mean, we're lucky in the West because we still have Shaw. We're okay. Like, I was able to do some things yesterday, but boy, oh boy, trying to get a hold of anybody in Ontario yesterday was really a piece of work. And Quebec was even worse. I don't know what their problem was, but I couldn't find anybody in Montreal.
Hey, Scott, I was in Montreal. I needed to get out. So I woke up in the morning, 5 o'clock. My flight was at 7. Turned my phone on, nothing. Tried to get an Uber, nothing. Go downstairs to the guy, nothing. Everything shut down. So I panic. I race upstairs, get all my bags, bring them all the way down because I couldn't miss the flight. So I raced all down, had my bags there, went back to the guy. Hey, dude, anything? No. Okay, what can you do? Oh, we've got a sister hotel down the street. My guy's going. He's got the walkie-talkie. Guy goes down the street, walkie-talkie's back. Hey, no, we got no Wi-Fi, but tell the guy that's standing in the front that behind the bus there's a taxi. All right, so the taxi pulls up, and it's a French guy, can't speak a word of English. He's smoking a cigarette. Hang on a second, here, time out. I thought there was no smoking in cars. Anyways, I got asthma. I'm losing a lung. I'm honestly losing a lung. I'm driving to the airport with my head out the window like a dog. He's oblivious to it all, just puffing away. I get to the airport. The place is an absolute zoo. I give him my credit card. No work. I got another credit card. No work. I'm thinking, holy shit, have I spent all my money at the Shapery last night? Then I pull out my debit card. I got 2 of them. Doesn't work. Okay, don't panic. Everybody's lined up. Everybody's yelling, screaming. I run into the airport. I'm super elite. I go up to the desk, say, I got a problem, blah, blah, blah. No worries. There's an ATM over there. I go put my card in the ATM. The machine doesn't work. Next one. 4 ATMs, no money. I don't have one dime. I race back to this dude, and he's smoking away by his car. No comprende. I think that's French. And I said, okay, listen, I can't pay you. So one of the stewardesses, I guess, getting on the flight, outside, they got off the bus. She said, can I help you? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So here it is. I've got an IOU to the taxi guy. He couldn't speak a word of English. And so I've got to actually get a check and send it to him. Beat that story. I owe some taxi driver money in Montreal.
Isn't that
Anyways,
crazy?
How crazy is it?
That's just nuts. Well,
so Scott, I wanted to ask you a question before we get started. I know you saw the guy on the news yesterday. I was kind of perplexed because the radio station out here is sponsored by them, and it's one of the most reliable internet service providers in the world, Rogers. And then somebody posted, the Bell Let's Talk.
Oh yeah,
they've got a Rogers sign now that says, "Now let's not talk."
Talk.
How you doing out there?
That's just we can't have a monopoly in Canada. They gotta leave us with Shaw because something's got to work.
Yeah. So what we'll just end it on that. And I'd love to hear your take on it because you and I are a little bit older, and it's frustrating, right? Because I had no idea what to do. I was sweating buckets, felt bad for this French guy because he's probably thinking I'm stiffing him. But there was everybody else doing it. Like, it wasn't just me on the curb, doing hand signals to a French guy smoking a cigarette. It's amazing he didn't have a bottle of wine and a baguette. So we then,
looking back on it, you should have driven to Montreal.
Good point. Never thought about it. So I want to ask you, because we're older, what does it mean to you? Like, you weren't as frustrated because obviously you didn't have the same issues. Are we relying way too much on the internet today?
Well, of course we are. That's the only thing that runs everything. It runs the world, my friend. Yeah, of course we are. But the only way to make it work is that there are more than one internet company. That there's lots of opportunity to go in other directions and find new things to make work. I mean, as long as you got a monopoly, you're going to have a problem. And I think that's what this proved more than anything else. When you shut down 25% of the country, and and some serious stuff. I mean, because of that problem, you shut down Visa. You shut down things that people can't live without now. Because how many people do you know that don't carry money anywhere, including Carrie Goulet, obviously.
Well, because I don't have any. That's, you know, that's.
It's how much money do you have in your pocket? I mean, I got about $40. If I had a $50 cab ride and had to pay cash, I'd been in the same situation as you.
Yeah.
Because everything I do is with a card.
Right.
And like you, one of 3 or 4 cards in my wallet. I mean, I always have an alternative because you use a card. So you've got to make sure that there's other options for people to use when these situations arise. That's all.
Well, a company like that, Scott, obviously as big as they are, no contingency plan. We're not talking. We're still not right. Like, you know,
No.
Well, I've never been right, but right now we're not right here. We can't. Tony and I can't function. We got some pretty important things that we were going to do yesterday when I got back. That's why I came back on the early flight for Australia tour. We're completely shut down. So our business is going to. Is it going to suffer? Sure. It hurts us a little bit. You know, we had a full day planned of business and it's gone. So I'm thinking that yesterday, obviously with the draft, it must have been a big deal for you guys, like all the reporters. Obviously, Winnipeg's deep into the, you know, the choosing of players and that. So it must have affected you also on your ability to be who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a magazine guy. And my regular reporter got everything that he needed to do done the night of it. So we're okay. I'm trying to get an interview set up with Denton Matejchuk, of course, who was the 12th pick overall, and that's been difficult because I think he has Rogers and he's still in Montreal, and I'm probably not going to be able to get a hold of him today. But I'm not in a panic. I don't have to get a book out for another couple of weeks, so I'm okay. But people who have to get stuff done immediately right away, and people like you who get into a situation where they have to pay for things. I mean, to me, that's the biggest problem at all. Or tell your boss or your wife or your kids where you are. I mean, that's a really difficult situation. In the old days, before the internet came along, and I was in the middle of that as a newspaper reporter. You found a payphone, and we had payphones. There's no payphones anymore. Or I mean, I don't know where there are any. I guess the last one in London was taken down. The last one in New York is gone. I mean, I don't know about Montreal or Toronto, but there's no payphones in Winnipeg I can think of that I can see.
Well, the biggest problem with that is I probably couldn't find a dime if I needed it. So
yeah, there's funny. There was a kid who posted something on Twitter or Instagram yesterday, and it was, I had to go to an ATM. That's what my parents did. Yeah, but no. But the point is that it's done with cards.
Scott,
I do all my parking downtown Winnipeg with a card. It's all done with a card. Everything.
All right, we're going to get to hockey in a second. I got one more.
I get taxis and Ubers by my phone. Could you imagine not being able to get an Uber yesterday? Wow.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we'll get into hockey right now. I just wanted to say I was down at the bottom line, sitting there with my wife. We were meeting one of our players that we're trying to get over to Australia. He's actually from Australia. He's here. Really cool kid, Joey McDougall. He's going to help us recruit some players. So we're talking away, and this couple sits down and they order food, and the lady said, listen, only cash. And they were from Hamilton, and they said, we don't have any cash. So they got a glass of water. They had their water and then went off to see where they could find a place. So it was certainly entertaining, and I hope it doesn't happen again. I hope by the end of this weekend, we're back to normal. So the ramifications of the draft and the situation with Rogers letting us all down who are on Rogers, it affected everybody. I know you said 25%, but it affected everybody. You couldn't talk to people. It was just a schmozola. But I was in Montreal the night before, and before we go on, I'd like to obviously send condolences to Brian Marshmont's family. It's a sad story. We don't know all the particulars about it, but certainly our condolences, and I know you would wish his family the same. He
was a first-round draft pick of Jets 1.0 back in 1987. Really? Yeah, he was a Jets draft pick. He played for the Jets, and I knew him relatively well. I feel terrible, like everybody else does. But it's been a tough year. Lafleur Bossy, Marchment, guys that we knew and loved and respected, all gone. It's not been a great 2022.
No. All right. So then the drama that came, we all in that clique. I wasn't in the draft itself. I was actually at a convention called Hockey of Tomorrow, and it was a convention, a great convention. I got to speak at it. They wanted to hear about what I was doing in Australia, all that stuff. So it was kind of cool. And so I hung out with that group because I couldn't get a ticket, though there were a lot of empty seats. So I'm not sure what happened there. But anyways, the whole buzz around everywhere was the fact that Montreal's not taking right. Like, we kept hearing this. The fans were thinking they were, but inside the press room, everybody was saying, and we had Frank Saravelli, I think his name is. He's a cool dude. He's dressed up really sharp, came on the stage, did his speech, and then right at the end of it, I think it blew over everybody. I don't think a lot of us captured it, but I did. He said, don't put money on Montreal taking right. So it kind of went through. Nobody really noticed it until that night when it happened that Slafkovsky was picked over him. Somebody said, Frank knew that. He basically said that. Were you shocked? Did you think Montreal was going down the right path?
I think the Olympics changed everything. And I think Montreal did a good job of keeping their pick close to their chest. I don't think they were going to make a big issue out of what it was going to be. But the Olympics and that bronze medal for Slovakia changed everything. People started to notice that Slovakian team and the young players who were on it and the young players who got Slovakia that medal. And I was surprised in a sense that everybody had told me for 3 months that Shane Wright was going to be the number one pick. A year, really.
Yeah, it's been a year.
But I'm never shocked at the draft anymore. I honestly assumed that Denton Mateychuk would be available for the Jets at 14. I really thought he would be there, and then we'd have a bit of controversy when they took another American, and you've got a Canadian kid from right down the street who is going to be a great pro. He is going to be a Cale Makar type pro.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no, he's a player. He is a big-time athlete, big-time hockey player, not real tall, but tough as nails. He's about 5'11", maybe, but he's 200, and he's as solid as a rock. And he's got legs like Marty St. Louis. Remember Marty St. Louis' thighs?
Oh, yeah.
This big.
Yeah, they were tree stumps.
That's Denton Mateychuk. He is big and strong and wide, and he can skate. He's gonna be a real good pro.
Yep.
And at 14, it would have been really interesting to see if the Jets went with another American, or at least picked the kid who said he wanted to be a Jet. Because that's one of the problems here is guys don't want to be Jets very long. So that surprised me, the fact that Manitoba kids went 11 and 12. I thought Connor Geekie might even go higher than 11 because he's a Geekie and they're the best athletes in Western Canada, frankly. But the Mateychuks are pretty close. And the fact that Owen Pickering went 21st to have the first 3 Manitobans in the first round since 1974. Wow. That's only third time it's ever happened. In 73, there were 4 of them taken in the first round. But this year was just a phenomenal thing. More Manitobans taken in the first round than from any other province. That's just amazing to me. That to me was the biggest surprise. It was not what Montreal picked or what anybody else picked. It's the fact that I've said it a lot of times, and I know when somebody sees this, there's going to be, oh, you're full of crap stuff. But I have said for a long time that this is Winnipeg, Brandon, is truly the heart of hockey in North America. Because there's no other place outside Toronto, which is the center of the universe. But there's no other place that has an NHL team, an American Hockey League team, 2 Western Hockey League teams, and then 2 entire junior A leagues, 2 entire junior B leagues,
yeah, good
3 prep schools, a university team. It just goes on and on and on. You've got Toronto and Winnipeg. Toronto's the head and Winnipeg's the heart. And it's just remarkable to me that 3 guys like that get picked in the first round. It's getting better and better and better out here. This is the greatest hockey in the world for the right price. And And I think that everybody in my part of the country should be very, very proud of what happened on Thursday.
And let's not forget, it's a million population. We're not talking the biggest market in the world. Well, yeah, I'm talking all of Manitoba. Yeah, true. All right, so you're saying you're not surprised that the right Slafkovsky. Okay, I get that, Slafkovsky. But the one thing that's surprising is he did drop to 4, and then somebody said, well, why did he drop to 4? Why wouldn't he go second overall? Is it not the fact that some of these teams are already locked in and they maybe were thinking, Montreal was going with right, so they're not even thinking that way. They're going to go get their guys like Cooley, of course. When Cooley goes over right, a lot of people are saying, wow, there's something wrong. But it's not. That they were set in their ways. The management team had said, all right, Montreal's probably going with right, so this is the guy we're going to key on. Just because right comes available, he's not that overwhelming that you're going to, go against all your scouting system and say, hang on a sec here, let's change our mind, because he may not be exactly what you needed anyways. Obviously, they picked who they needed. Your thoughts on that comment?
Yeah, I agree with it completely. Has anybody watched the movie Draft Day? Have you ever seen the movie Draft Day? Kevin Costner?
I have not. No, I have not, but I think I will.
All you have to do is it's football, but just think hockey while you're watching it. And the same thing is happening in the draft everywhere. I mean, the reality is that people are making backdoor deals. People like certain people. And you mentioned Cooley as a great example. That's the guy they wanted. That was the guy they were locked in on. They'd already talked to him. They told him they had the jersey there. They were ready to go. How many times the other night were the runners running out to get jerseys from the back room because they didn't get the guy they thought they would get, or they took somebody else? He didn't drop to 4 because he was a bad player. He dropped to 4 because other teams had made decisions on what they were going to do.
Yeah.
And I think some teams look at the top 5 picks and go, nah, they're all the same. They're all good. They're all going to be good players. If you're in a top 5 pick, it's very likely you're going to make the team right away at 18. So I don't think it's a huge surprise that he dropped, but he didn't drop out of the top 5. He's still going to make big time money. He's going to make number 1 overall money, but he's going to make huge amounts of money in his career. And I agree with you that teams get locked into their guy. This is the guy we need for this spot. We like him. We've scouted him. We've never thought about the number 1 pick. We've never thought about changing from this guy. And I think teams care about some teams do, not all teams certainly, but some teams care about their own credibility and their own integrity. And if you have spent your life talking to Logan or Cooley or whatever his first name was, I forgot. Yeah. If you've been talking to this guy for a year, that you're our guy, you don't back out the night of the draft and say, oh, you're not our guy anymore.
Oh, yeah, right. Hey, listen,
they stuck to their guns and did what they're supposed to do. But I recommend to anybody watching anything, it's on Disney Plus, Draft Day with Kevin Costner. You will learn an awful lot about how things work on draft day.
I actually did see the movie many years ago. I now recall it, and I will go back because it was actually action-packed. Him in the boardroom, and then he walks up and makes the decision. Hey, listen, obviously we're talking about the right moving to 4th and all that, and the Cooley story. I agree. They spent time whining and dining this kid, understanding who he is, and all of a sudden you're going to make a drastic change. But I also think that Montreal looked at what you said. He was playing. Slafkovsky was playing against men, and what he did in the Olympics, I think, changed everybody's thoughts.
Absolutely.
And they're thinking more long-term than short-term. And that's what I heard in Montreal at all the different parties that I got to go to and listen to people talk. And, they basically said Montreal made some other great moves. Like Montreal's in a good position, as is, in my opinion, Ottawa. And I'll ask you that in a second. I just think that they looked at him as a big set. He's going to be there for a long time. Malkin's been thrown around a little bit. I think Montreal did their homework and they were ready, and they just kept this drama going just because it was Montreal. Wow, it was action-packed. There were some people in shock. What? But most of the crowd was absolutely elated with the call.
I think you made a really good point. Slafkovsky was playing against men. If you looked at that Olympic run by Slovakia, to a bronze medal, first medal in the country's history. And you see this kid on the point, and you know that these aren't the national teams because the NHL didn't come. But you know they're probably the best American League teams or the best available European teams.
Yeah.
You looked at these teams and you saw this kid playing with the best American League level players. And you said, okay, we got a chance to either get a great junior player or a kid who has proven himself in the next level of professional hockey.
Yep.
Boy, that's a pretty enticing thing. You take his size, what he did in the Olympics, what he did, who he did it against. You look at all that stuff. You, from the Olympics, probably do a real good job of your homework on his family and him, what kind of a guy he is. So you know by the time the draft rolls around after the Olympics are over, you've had 3 months, 4 months to find out about this kid. It's not that shocking at all. It would have been shocking if Slovakia had finished 6th in the Olympics like any other time, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that they won that bronze medal and you saw all those Slovakian kids get drafted in the first round because he wasn't the last one that went. And you saw those, and that's the result of the Olympic Games. That changed everybody's opinion of the kids that were available from that team.
All right, we'll wrap this up with.
And by the way, Ottawa getting the Brinkat is huge.
I know. That's the next question. You're watching Gouche Live here. Obviously, a little bit different. I'm on my phone. You're at home, sitting there with your Shaw, and I'm still trying to figure out, how that hamster's spinning the wheel to make sure that we can put on a show. Gouche Live, brought to you by those good people at Hockey News. I'm not at the bottom line because their system doesn't work, so they're shut down. So it's absolutely crazy. DeBrincat was the big surprise for me. And then Gouche going to Montreal. I just don't understand the psyche of Chicago. So I wanted to ask you that, because what is going on in Chicago? If you're Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, you saw Hagel go. Now you see arguably a 90-point guy, 41 goals last year, DeBrincat. I've always liked Doc. I think he got off to a bad start with his hand, but he's going to be a really nice fit in Montreal. DeBrincat in Ottawa. So yes, comment on those two, but also give me the thoughts of what's going on in Toews and Kane's head in Chicago.
Toews and Kane make large amounts of money, huge amounts of money. And because they make all that money, it's hard to pay all the other guys. And you know that the piper's got to be paid soon. Those other guys are going to want their payday. And while you're stuck with Kane and Toews, you can't pay them. It's still a problem in Minnesota, who's still paying off Suter and Parise. It's a problem in Winnipeg, paying off Blake Wheeler at his age. The reality is that the salary cap does crazy things to people because they have to make decisions not a year in advance, not 6 months in advance, but 5 years in advance. What do I have to pay this guy? How much money do I have left? What's my situation? Chicago has a real cap issue because of Toews and Kane. They could probably move Kane, but the fans in Chicago would go crazier than they went for the loss of DeBrincat. You can't move Toews. He's damaged goods now, regardless of what anybody says. And you just got to pay him out and maybe at some point buy him out. But the reality is that Chicago's got money problems, and they've got to change those things. So they've got to get rid of high-paid players underneath your two top stars and go after some kids that maybe can play. And that's the situation in Chicago in a nutshell.
All right. Hey, thank you, Roger, for giving me a few minutes with Scott Taylor. I'm really thankful for it. No, just before you go, I got to ask you this question because I think a lot of people were shocked. Fleury signs an extension in Minnesota. Husso has just signed in Detroit. The goalie market is free, coming closed. Toronto still needs somebody. They don't know what's going to go on Jack Campbell. Edmonton, could they be shut out because they need somebody? Really quickly on your thoughts, were you surprised Fleury staying in Minnesota? And then, of course, how does that play out in the National Hockey League?
Well, I think the funniest line was Billy Guerin's. We were on the playoffs early and I had nothing to do, so I just talked to Marc-Andre and we decided to come to an agreement and sign. I think there was always lots of talk, but he signed for an amount of money they could deal with, right? 2 years,
yeah,
an amount of money that they can afford, and he signed basically a hometown deal, and that Guerin was really happy. And as he said, I had to reach out to Cam Talbot because I like him still. I want him to play, and I think that they made a mistake last year. I think that the Fleury did not play particularly well in that first round of the playoffs, and it cost them. but he's still a good goaltender. He may be the backup now. Cam Talbot may be number one. You never know what's going to happen until you go to camp, right? You never know.
Yeah. Scott, I don't know if you heard the interview or the talk between the agent, Cam Talbot's agent, and Bill Guerin, where he said the agent was kind of disappointed, and finally it got really heated, and finally said, "That's enough, that's it," and walked away from the interview. I thought that was kind of wild and crazy. It really put everybody in place. Talbot and Fleury as two back-to-back goaltenders. It's going to be great. All right, is Edmonton in trouble if they can't find somebody?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to find a goalie. I think that's their problem. And trouble is a funny word, right? But they need a goaltender. And that's why somebody said to me, well, Hellebuck didn't have a great year last year. He's going nowhere. First guy Rick Bowness talked about was Connor Hellebuck. Connor Hellebuck is going to stay in Winnipeg. He's not moving anyplace because Kevin Cheveldayoff knows he's got a goalie. And yeah, the guy didn't have a great year last year, but he'll have a better year next year. He's a great goaltender. He's going to play in Winnipeg. And hopefully Comrie will be back to be the backup because he was freaking outstanding last year. And the Jets goaltending will be fine going forward. You don't create problems where there aren't any. Edmonton has a problem. They got to fix it.
All right, buddy. Scotty Taylor, we will get back to you next week.
Be gone.
Say that again?
Wheeler or Scheifele, one of them will be gone. I don't know which one.
Well, when that happens, I'm going to be on with you and you can give us all the juicy details. Listen, Scott Taylor, have a great rest of your Saturday. Hope to try and talk to you next week if I have the internet and my phone working. And always great. Game On Magazine. You got to get a copy. It's phenomenal. Thank you, Scott Taylor.
See you later. Bye, Kerry.
Bye. Scotty Taylor, always a pleasure. Hey, thank you, Robert, for joining us. I know it's been a little bit difficult with everybody. I was in La Belle Province, as you said, and I will be talking to you later today, actually, Robert. I'm going to talk to you about something that's going on in Ottawa that we may be interested to do together. I'll talk to you about that. And Eric Brecht, how are you, buddy? Always a pleasure. Listen, the Slapshot Golf Tournament, the 45th anniversary Slapshot Golf Tournament in Winnipeg is sold out. Yes, it is. We're so happy about that. And we're going to be bringing you lots of information. You can go online still and get involved in the silent auction, live auction to help raise money for obviously our great causes. The one is Stop Concussions, but also very important is the Bruce Oak Foundation, an incredible men's facility, rehab facility that Scott Oak and his wife put together to help people that are struggling with addictions. So we're excited to be partnering up with them. And of course, I was supposed to be on an interview with CJOB yesterday with Scott Taylor organizing that. And unfortunately, I couldn't do it. I'll be on Thursday. I will let everybody know about it. Hey, listen, can't thank you enough for being a part of our great show, Gouche Live, regardless, just like the postman, nor rain, sleet, or snow can stop us. We delivered a show on my cell phone, and we're excited to come back. Starting Monday, a great new program, Gouche Live, brought to you by the good people of Hockey News, and we will be live at the bottom line.